Welcome to this explainer. You know, it's like locking the front door of your office every single night, only to realize your employees are literally throwing sensitive documents out the back window. That's the reality of unmanaged AI in your organization right now. If you're an IT leader, a security professional, or a decision maker trying to navigate this modern AI landscape, you absolutely know the daily pressure of balancing rapid innovation with really strict security. Today, we're unpacking exactly how you can achieve that perfect balance without a single compromise. Okay, let's jump straight into this frankly terrifying stat: 75%. Over 75% of your workforce is already using unapproved, unregulated AI tools at work. It is the ultimate invisible data leak. Look, employees just want to get their jobs done faster, but in doing so, they're actively pasting your sensitive IP, proprietary code, and customer data directly into public models. And remember, those public models use that exact input for their own ongoing training. So, here's how we're going to map out the solution today. First, we'll look at the shadow AI crisis. Then, a centralized AI solution. Third, the multi-LM advantage. Fourth, AI agents for every team. And finally, governance meets cost savings. All right, part one, the shadow AI crisis and the massive risks of uncontrolled AI use. We're dealing with a pretty stark contrast here. Out in the wild, you've got the total chaos of individual consumer tools, right? Invisible data leaks, zero audit trails, and serious compliance violations just hiding in plain sight. I mean, we're talking about major GDPR, HIPAA, or SOC 2 breaches basically waiting to happen. But flip that to a centralized, governed AI environment, you get absolute data ownership, pooled predictable pricing, complete administrative audit logs, and a fully model-agnostic workspace. It's literally night and day. And if you just ignore this, well, the consequences are steep. Think about this. Organizations without centralized platforms are actually projected to face 40% more security and compliance incidents. 40%! You just can't afford to look the other way while your sensitive data walks right out the digital front door. Moving right along to part two, a centralized AI solution, bringing everything into one governed platform. Look, you can't just block AI. We all know employees will always find a workaround. Instead, you have to provide a better, safer alternative. That's where Devs.ai comes in as your digital vault. It completely consolidates access to over 50 major large language models into a single, highly secure platform. We're talking private, US-based Azure hosting, single sign-on, and comprehensive org-wide analytics. And here is the absolute kicker. It gives you a contractual guarantee, not just some vague policy, but an actual legally binding contract that your company data is never used to train public models. You keep absolute data ownership from day one.
Which brings us to part three, the multi-LLM advantage and why you absolutely need a model-agnostic setup.
Here's the truth. Relying on a single AI model right now is a massive strategic liability. The landscape is moving incredibly fast, and a single vendor can deprecate a model overnight, breaking your entire workflow. Or they could suddenly change their data policies. With Devs.ai, you avoid vendor lock-in entirely. Your team gets instant, governed access to the absolute heavy hitters for those complex reasoning and engineering tasks, like OpenAI's GPT-4 Classic, GPT-01, and the highly anticipated GPT-5. But wait, what if your team suddenly needs massive context windows to process huge documents, or deep integration with Google Workspace? Well, you don't have to go out and negotiate a completely separate enterprise subscription. You can just instantly swap over to Google's multimodal flagship models. Think Gemini 1.5, 2.0, or 2.5 Pro right from that exact same platform. It gives your teams the agility to just pick the best tool for whatever specific task is at hand. Or, say your legal department is reviewing some highly sensitive contracts and really needs the renowned safety and enterprise reliability of Anthropic's Claude 3.5 or Claude 4. Guess what? It's all right there in the same library. You effectively get to step off that exhausting AI update treadmill. As new frontier models come out, they're just seamlessly added to the platform. No costly reintegrations, no endless procurement cycles, and zero workflow disruptions. Okay, part four. AI agents for every team, focusing on no-code automation. Now, it's one thing to have access to raw models, but it's another thing entirely to build custom workflows. With a no-code builder, literally anyone in HR, marketing, or legal can whip up an agent in 3 really simple steps. First, you connect your data sources. Second, configure the agent and pick the best LLM for the job. And third, deploy it at scale. It uses a retrieval-augmented generation, or RAG pipeline. Basically, think of it as giving the AI a strictly controlled open book test, forcing it to only use your company's latest, most accurate documents.
And these agents become incredibly powerful because they aren't just your generic off-the-shelf chatbots. They are seamlessly syncing in real time with your actual business data. They connect directly via out-of-the-box pipelines to tools you already use: Google Drive, Jira, SharePoint, Confluence, GitHub, Slack, you name it. And all of this happens while rigorously maintaining full data isolation and privacy controls throughout the entire process.
Let's make this real for a second. Imagine a new hire getting instant, perfectly accurate answers from an HR agent that's trained exclusively on your company handbook and Jira tasks. That effectively automates Tier 1 onboarding. Or picture your legal team using a SharePoint-connected agent that reviews incoming agreements against your standard templates in just minutes instead of hours. Or even an IT help desk agent generating API docs and troubleshooting code directly from your GitHub repo. We are talking about massive, autonomous task execution deployed directly by the non-technical teams that actually need it.
Finally, Part 5. Governance meets cost savings. How to achieve lower risk and lower cost.
Security here is definitely not just some bolted-on afterthought, it is the fundamental architecture. You get total peace of mind because right out of the box, the platform is fully compliant with SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, and GDPR. IT admins get granular role-based access controls, meaning you decide exactly who interacts with which models and data sources. Add in full single sign-on integration, complete data deletion rights on demand, and the ability to review logs. You'll be catching policy violations way before they turn into real incidents.
And here is honestly the absolute best part, the real bottom line. You get access to over 50 frontier models with full enterprise governance for approximately 75% less than if you bought fragmented, single premium model subscriptions for your whole team. Instead of paying those separate premium costs for OpenAI, Gemini, and Claude licenses all over the place, you just pool your token allocation into one predictable, centralized, and governed platform.
So, when you look at the big picture, the choice is pretty obvious. Individual consumer tools bring massive shadow AI and security risks. A single enterprise LLM license, high costs, and total vendor lock-in. Trying to build a custom in-house platform requires a huge engineering team and incredibly painful deployment times. But a centralized business tier like Devs AI gives you the vast model selection of individual tools, the strict governance of an in-house platform, absolutely no vendor lock-in, all at a fraction of the cost.
The question isn't whether your team will use AI anymore. We know they already are. The real question is this: as AI becomes as fundamental as the internet itself, will your organization be defined by the data you leaked in the shadows or the centralized intelligence you governed in the light? Adopting powerful, cutting-edge AI across your enterprise doesn't mean you have to accept compromise. It just requires building the right foundation. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.